Greetings and welcome to this edition of
Positronic.
I'm Barry P. Cook. Let's talk about the latest episode of Star Trek Prodigy. It was called First Contact. C-O-N-T-A-C-T, as in con, highlighting the con part. Anyway, as it starts off, it's apparent that some disaster befell the prior protostar crew, but the current crew doesn't know what, though they're trying to find out. Meanwhile, they're experimenting with the transporter, which for some reason they seem not to be able to predict the end point of. I don't know why. They're like kind of amazed at where the things materialize where you really shouldn't be. You should be able to, figure out where you're sending something. But anyway, in the middle of this, a fake distress signal comes in from a ferengei ship called the Damsel, captained by the female ferengei who raised Dal. And she's wearing clothes for some reason, but it's a kid's show, so there you go. Turns out she wants Dal to, well, when she finds out that it's Dal, she wants him to help her acquire a crystal of some value from a pre-warp society in exchange for a cloaking device that she has, which she'll give Dal, and which he wants because then he thinks they'll be better able to hide from the diviner. Janeway, of course, warns them against proceeding because of the Prime Directive, which Dal mostly ignores. But my question is, why doesn't the protostar have a cloak? Apparently the Treaty of Algernon is still in effect, which, okay, but I guess that makes sense. Because even with the Romulan Star Empire in shambles, it would be pretty hard to convince them that, hey, we're not, we far outgun you anyway. Why don't you let us develop a cloak? It's not like you're any match for us anyway anymore. You're basically at our mercy. Why do we still have to obey this treaty? But, if I'm the Romulans, I'm thinking, well, because we're in even more danger from you now, why would we want you skulking around with cloaking devices? So, I don't know. I guess the Treaty of Algernon is still in effect. But, that begs the question, why would Janeway even allow him to consider it? Like, he'd be like, no, she would be like, no, we can't do that. So, I don't know. That was weird. Didn't come up. Again, kids show. So, the crew goes along with this plan, and they land the ship on the planet where this crystal is for some reason. I don't know why they didn't beam down or shuttle down. They land the ship. I thought it was weird. Anyway, they encounter a type of life there which communicates through harmonics, which they also use to transform matter by using the crystals that the Ferengi lady wants, but which the life forms can't do without, which doesn't stop her from taking some of them over the objections of Dal and the crew, which harms and upsets the life forms. The crew managed to replace all but one of the crystals, and they chase the Ferengi for the last one, but when Dal catches her, he fails to get it, and he learns not only that she sold him to the mines to begin with, that is how he wound up there, but that she stole the materials she needed for the cloaking device from the protostar when the shields were down, before she then escaped. So in other words, she told him she didn't use the cloaking device because she didn't have XYZ material, which the crew blurted out they had plenty of on the protostar. I think it might have been Rock who said it, or the engineer, but someone says, oh, we have a bunch of that. So while their shields were down, which I guess while they were on the planet, she beamed that stuff over to her own ship so that she now can operate the cloaking device she was going to give to them in exchange for their help, which went sideways. Anyway, Janeway then scolds the crew as Dal retrieves the crystal from the Ferengi by transporter after having attached his comm badge to it during the struggle over it before. And Gwyn tries to console him when he expresses sadness over learning what the Ferengi had done. And she says, I get it. My own natural father betrayed me too. So I thought that was pretty cool because it puts them in even more of a position to have something in common and to understand each other and to grow closer. So I think that's very cool. Right before the episode ends, we see the Ferengi being made aware of the fact that there's a bounty on the protostar, and we see her prepare to rat them out, which is very concerning. So next week should be interesting. I like this episode better than the last one. It seemed to have a purpose. Every time they experience something, the crew, they learn something from it. and I thought that was cool. I like that we know more about Dahl's past. One little nitpick, other than the whole Treaty of Alderaan thing, would be that when they return the final crystal, they beam it right into a tendril that it had been taken from. So when the Ferengi took all these crystals, they weren't like in the rocks or on the ground. They were hanging at the end of these tendrils that are hanging from a cave ceiling. And so when they beam the last one back to the creatures, it goes right up in the socket of the tendril where it had been, which transporters aren't that precise to my recollection. So that's a little nitpick there. But other than that, I like this episode. I continue to like this show quite a bit, and I'm looking forward to the next episode, a review of which I will be back with once it is released. Until then, my friends, I wish you peace and long life.